Welcome back to another edition of Double Coverage. I'm Michael Emami.
And I'm Cymone Smith. So glad we're back.
Yes, it's been a bit of a break. It's been a weird break.
It was strange.
It was such a weird break. We had state football. Now we're transitioning into high school basketball. We have K-State getting a new head coach.
My goodness.
And another one retiring. Yes, exactly. It's
a lot's happened in the last couple weeks.
Yes, we missed you. Our audience, we missed you a lot. Probably the elephant in the room that we have been dying to get into has been the hire of Collin Klein. But I also want to take this moment to reflect on Chris Klieman. Hugely busy week last week for the both of us, really. I mean, when you look at Klein coming in off the tarmac and waving to the students, but you gotta wish Chris Klieman the best. Such an unbelievable career at K-State.
And he definitely cemented his legacy at K-State, even with his departure. We know it was unexpected, but he incredibly deserving of still being accomplished. You know, he did so much over the years. I mean, he finished with a winning record, 54-34. So great job there. And 7-0 against Kansas. So he won the Sunflower Showdown. I feel like that's one of the only stats that really matters.
Yes.
So, you know, it was a tough departure. It came as a surprise, came out earlier than people probably expected. For years earlier and also days earlier for the announcement. But I think it was good to see the support from Gene Taylor and the rest of the athletic department. Gene said, you know, he felt like he wanted to give him that space to think about it, but his daughter noted that things probably shifted after that loss to Utah this season. Yeah,
it definitely shifted, and obviously the welcome by the students and the fans and the applause and congratulations. What you're seeing on your screen right now is the halftime at the KSU Seton Hall game of them welcoming Collin Klein. They were along the ride with us. For all of this. Manhattan Mercury broke the news. We obviously have been tracking it for a good number of days. And you see now he's already assembling, Collin Klein is, his new group. He's hired a special teams coordinator. He's got a new GM in there. So I think they're ready to usher in a new era for K-State football, but still reflecting on and thanking the second most winningest coach in K-State history. It's so special.
Absolutely. And you can't be mad that you're one coach that left is being replaced by a former Wildcat and one of the best Wildcats at that. So, I mean, you could tell how excited the school and the program is to have Klein coming in, Collin Klein coming in. So, it's all tongue twister. Can we talk about that? Chris Klieman, Collin Klein. It's a lot of names with C's in them. But we're excited to see Coach Klein here. I mean, he was at K-State back 2014, 2015, and then, or coaching. That was his first coaching gig was as a assistant for them then, and now coming off of this last season with Texas A&M as their offensive coordinator and helping them completely transform their offense. They had 10 games this season posting over 30 points, so that just tells you how incredible he is at building offenses, and I think that's something Kansas State is going to benefit with in the future. So I think there's nothing for these recruits to really worry about.
No, I don't think there's anything for him to worry about, especially when you consider the fact that he has already had so much success as somebody who hasn't even been a head coach yet in their career. I mean, he took a jump. He goes from, as we talked about, defensive quality control assistant, his first gig, worked under Coach Klieman when he came back to KSU, but he spent a season or two in Northern Iowa, was there for a little bit, made the rounds to K-State, worked under Mike Elko, who's a great offensive mind at Texas A&M. So he has the resume with him, and not to mention the kid's a Heisman Trophy finalist.
Exactly.
I mean, that's amazing to even think about. 15 touchdowns passing, 22 rushing. A lot thought that he could have a career in the NFL, but I think he's smart to get into the coaching career because it's such a selfless profession to have, being a head coach. You're developing young men, and I'd be interested to see how he really levels up that K-State offense next season.
And how about bringing in those coaches on Thursday with more former Wildcats joining the staff? I feel like that's just going to excite this program even more and the fans even more, because that's what it takes, is you need people who are passionate about your school and your university. And so he's already has it, and now he has other people on his staff, on board, who also really care about the Wildcats and their success to come. So I think that was pretty cool to see that coaching lineup.
Yeah, I think coaching changes in particular are usually a little bit more drawn out than this was. I mean, you don't typically see a guy get hired within 24 to 48 hours, but that's exactly what happened. Essentially, when Gene Taylor spoke, he said, we've got a plan in place. It's going to move quickly. We didn't think it would take 2 days, but it did. And when you look at it that way, you think, This is definitely more unusual with comparison to some of the other ones that I've noticed, where it's taken teams sometimes upwards of 2 to 3 weeks, and then you have a prospective list of candidates that come out, who would be a good fit, what works, what doesn't. Instead, you've got a guy already lined up as the heir apparent to Chris Cymone, who, as we just talked about, it's going to be a tough task to sort of get K-State and maintain that reputation from someone who is already, second most wins in program history. That's big shoes to fill.
Yeah, and it was funny that you mentioned how they had him lined up, but Gene Taylor didn't want to speak on that.
No, he didn't.
He just said, I don't even know if I have his number.
Yes.
Okay, Gene.
I think
you
did.
Have his number? Okay.
I think you did.
But it is exciting. I mean, it's just really a whole new energy and spark, I think, that this Wildcat program needed, honestly.
Yeah, and I think they'll get it next year. They've got, the Big 12, which is obviously a very competitive conference, but this is a move that so many Wildcat fans were looking forward to. So hopefully it does pan out, and we'll be keeping track of their offensive and defensive changes that they make. Obviously, we know that, defensive coordinator's out going to Baylor, so the defense is definitely going to shift quite a bit. But staff and personnel and recruiting, that's all going to shift with it. So I'm interested to kind of see how that plays out in the long run. I think K-State will be okay, though, knowing that they've got a guy that's got a very strong offensive mind.
Oh, yeah, and I'm a little bit interested to see how the transfer portal plays out with these K-State players, to see how many of them are going to decide to transfer or not.
Right.
And I think it is interesting because we talked so much about, are they going to make a bowl game? Are they going to make a bowl game? And they qualified and then opted out because they don't know what the future holds for them. So I am interested to see how this roster plays out, what recruits they continue to land. They already had the early signing days. Yeah. So to see what this program becomes in the future. Of course, Avery Johnson, we know Dylan Edwards is leaving. They're losing their running backs. So what running backs are they going to fill in the gaps for? Is Avery Johnson going to stay? We saw them walking out of that meeting when they found out that Cymone was leaving. Yeah. They didn't look too upset. So
no, they didn't.
Wondering if, they are also just as excited for Klein and they want to keep the most of the talent is going to stay or not. So we'll have to keep monitoring the portal.
Right, yeah, and a lot to look forward to with Joe Jackson, assuming he sticks around. Young guy, and he had a couple of 200-plus yard games, most notably against Utah. So he's a bright spot in the future for K-State, especially when you consider his shiftiness and his movements and how he works those gaps in the offensive line. I'm definitely eager to see just kind of the transformation of the passing game. Johnson sticks around, how that will look. They had to deal with injuries a lot this year, too, and that's not something a lot of people talk about. I mean, Bradley goes down for the year. They had a lot of their top targets out at the beginning of the season, and we've seen this transcend across leagues, from the professional, really across sports, when you have your top 2, 3, 4 guys inconsistently in the lineup because of small little injuries. The team chemistry's off, and you wonder how much that affected K-State this year, not being able to meet that number 17 expectations at the beginning of the season. I
think it did make a big impact. Yeah. So you're right, there was a lot of changes, even the portion of time where Jace Brown wasn't out there, a lot of the depth chart did get reps because of that. Yeah. So, that could also be a positive. Maybe some of those guys on the depth chart who weren't playing as much this year but did get some snaps are going to stay. And who knows, hopefully the starters stay as well. But if they don't, then at least those other guys do have experience and a willingness to learn under Klein.
Yeah, Klein. He's going to be fine. He's going to do probably a little bit more than that.
It's just a matter of time.
Yes, it's just a matter of time. And bowl games, by the way, the one thing I will say, just tracking across the CFP and college football in general, you've got Notre Dame opting out of their game because of some hard feelings about not being able to qualify for the CFP. So I'm curious moving forward, not necessarily as how this relates to K-State, but just football in general, how this can affect bowl games and teams being able to play in the CFP and what bowl games actually mean, because it's already changing. Even though K-State qualified, they didn't want to play in it. They do have to pay a fine, we know that, but does the meaning of bowl games and college football in general change with that?
I think it's tough because having the transfer portal open up so early makes players not want to stay and play their bowl game. Yeah. So that goes back to even what Gene Taylor, K-State's athletic director, was saying about participation agreements and keeping players at their programs for a designated amount of time, because when you sign up to play, it's confusing to see that you opted out to play the one postseason game you're granted. Yeah. So that is going to be interesting, because bowls might fall apart, like you said, if these players aren't feeling obligated or passionate about staying and playing in that game, and it's kind of just like a consolation for them rather than a pride of being able to play through the holiday season. So I don't know. I think that's very interesting. As far as Notre Dame, I think they were left out the playoff because I get they were 10-2, but they're not affiliated with a conference, and so you have conference winners in there. And if you want to compete with conference winners, you got to win your conference. So I mean, it was tough, and I know it's all evaluations, and the committee who knows exactly how unbiased they are and things like that. But I think it's important to. Personally, I think you should stay and play your bowl game because why not?
Yeah.
And those seniors, that's their last game ever. They should get the chance to play that one last time.
And knowing that you can, and some of these bowl games are crazy. The Mayo Bowl, are you kidding me? Getting mayonnaise dunked on your head? Are you serious?
And we can't forget about the Pop-Tarts.
Yes, exactly.
You want to eat a giant Pop-Tart?
So the Pop-Tarts Bowl, that one was pretty funny. So there is so many, I don't know how much we follow. I follow betting lines a little bit just for some of the storylines because I think like what color Gatorade is going to be poured over the coach's head? Is it red? Is it blue? Is it clear? Is it green? But like when you see a giant thing of mayonnaise or a giant thing of Pop-Tarts, which I think that has to be painful. Pop-Tarts are hard. Like as a kid, you eat those things, like you take a bite out of them. It's like you got to crunch that thing. And if you've got like Pop-Tarts flying 2 feet on your head, that's not good.
Yeah, it tastes good though.
Yeah, it tastes good.
You just gotta stay ready for them.
Stay ready for them,
Don't
yes.
let them knock you out.
Yes.
They let them end up in your stomach.
In the 30 seconds left in the game, yes. Or the pre-celebration Gatorade dunk, which...
Bowls are just a celebration. They're fun.
Yeah.
Bowls are fun and they're entertaining. So I'd really like to see people want to stick around and play them. Now, granted, there's a handful of teams who are, so that's always positive. So, including Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He's going to be playing in Miami.
Yes.
That's where Klein's coming from.
Yeah. He's going to be having, I will say one thing I find fascinating is how in the world mentally do you still lead a team's offense whilst being a head coach for another team? I mean, the contract details are out. It's already been finalized. He's already signed.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you lead the Aggies offense and have your mental, be totally locked in, and then you got to deal with K-State becoming their next head coach? I don't know how you do that.
That's so funny because I was just following John Summerall and the Gators since I was a Gator. He posted something that was, can't remember exactly verbatim, but he said something about 2 phones, 2 jobs. I got to stay locked in. Like they're really, he split himself down the center, half Gator gear, half Tulane gear.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought it was a joke. Somebody else posted it. No, he posted it. He's like, I got 2 jobs I got to manage, and Klein's going through the same thing. Got 2 jobs, hiring one side and playing playoffs for another. I can't imagine. Exciting season.
Yeah, and he's got plenty to be celebrating with his family, and we're excited to see what comes out of that. I think K-State's going to be very successful with a great offensive mind. So plenty more to talk about in the college sports world, but we're going to talk a little bit of Chiefs when we come back right after the break. Welcome back to Double Coverage. Mike Emami.
And Asia Cymone Smith.
Got plenty more to talk about. We just really dissected the Colin Klein issue. Taking over as head coach, but man who has still been in Kansas City and is a terrific coach as well, Andy Reid. And he has proven himself over the years, but this season, Asia, it's just not going the Chiefs' way.
It's starting to roll downhill. We thought they still had a chance last week. Their playoff odds were above 50%. And then Houston came to town and took care of business, and it was just a whole different team. We're not used to. Well, I won't say it's a whole different team. It was not the end result we wanted, but that's kind of been the story for the team this season, for the Chiefs. They're not the same as we've seen them in years past, where when they're down, when their record's bad, you're like, oh, don't worry. Yeah. They still have time. They're going to figure it out. They always find a way. This year it seems like they just can't figure it out. They don't know the answer, and it's very interesting to see, but granted, we'll have to give Houston credit because they played incredibly defensively, forced Patrick Mahomes into a new record of incomplete passes in a row with 10, multiple interceptions, including that game ender by Travis Kelce. So, the Texans did good, and the Chiefs just aren't able to figure it out. It doesn't help that they have a battered offensive line. Yeah, and we talked about Travis Kelce's thoughts on that drop. He was very colorful, so we can't say it on air, and we couldn't say it on air Thursday, but he did take responsibility for it, most notably talking about how normally if he shows up, he gets things going, he'll be fine. And in this year, it just hasn't been that way. And you also factor in the Wanya Morris injury on the first play of the game, Asia. How
he goes
unfortunate.
down, and they lost him for the year. So now, and that was a backup string offensive lineman. So you're already dealing with Trey Smith, who's out. So it's a challenge. But good news is Smith comes back this week. So hopefully that's able to bolster things a little bit. But the Chiefs have had a lot of inconsistency in the running game with Kareem Hunt and with Isaiah Pacheco, so you hope they can get that going against the LA Chargers.
But the only way you can have a good run game is if you have a good offensive line, and that's kind of been the story right now. Granted, like you said, Wanya Morris gone. He was already filling in for Josh Simmons, who's out for the season, so it's very unfortunate to see all of these injuries really stressing the team out, but have to give credit to Esa Pole because he actually did a great job in his first NFL start. He was really able to lock guys up on the line, so I think that is a glimmer of hope, but also the right side has to take care of business as well. Like you said, Trey Smith could be making his return this week. So it'll be interesting to see how they're able to navigate, but I'm hoping that the hope isn't starting to be lost because it's almost, the odds are so low, but there's one or two scenarios where if this team wins and this team loses and this team doesn't win their division, then the Chiefs will make the playoffs. But all of their odds are playoff predictions are 15% or lower. So it's really stacked against them, and it's going to take a miracle. And as optimistic as you can remain, it's no guarantee that they're going to make it into the playoffs. So I'm a little worried that they're losing motivation. It doesn't help Trent McDuffie. Also, hyperextended his knee during the game, but hopefully he'll be back soon because secondary also needs to work. But going back from Trent, going back to the offense, it's going to really be on the offense and the line because look at what the Chargers defense just did to the Eagles. And now we got to go up against the Chargers and hope we have a chance to win out?
Right.
What do you even do?
What in the world, And the game against Philly really impressed me, especially with how out of sync Jalen Hurts looked in that game, really from the start. And it was fitting the game ended on a turnover because it was a turnover fest.
Oh, yeah.
Which leads me into my next point. You have the AFC wildcard. I've got it stacked up. Again, you can't look at the playoff picture exactly how it is because teams are battling injuries, most notably Indianapolis, who is on the outside looking in, and that's the first seed outside of that three that go. But they just signed Phillip Rivers. Good for him. 44 years old, taking over at quarterback.
That's fun.
I like to see if he gets any playing time on Sunday. That's going to be must-see television,
right?
Because I cannot wait to see him hit the field again.
Oh yeah.
But realistically speaking, Indianapolis doesn't look like they're going to be a playoff contender right now, even though they are first in line. So while statistically speaking, the Chiefs hover around that 11%, 15% marker, I think their chances are a little bit higher than that because they are right behind Baltimore, who is also 6-7 in this one. Houston, they got a leapfrog as well, 6-7. And something I said on the air Thursday as well, Travis Kelce tied for 6th in drops with 7. There you go. That was terrible.
Oh my gosh, I'm 10 years old.
I'm not a good dancer.
I'm 10.
Yes.
She's also 6 and 7.
Yes,
6, 7.
exactly. So a whole lot of 6-7 going on. But yeah, so Chargers, it would be a great shot at being able to sort of leapfrog in. And again, it's the first time in about 11 or so years where the Chiefs really do need help. They are not in control of their own destiny. And that's not something I ever thought I'd say.
And it's the first time in 9 years that they're not going to win the division.
Right.
So that's unfortunate. Broncos are 11-2 right now, and they're still on the Chiefs' schedule. Again, the Chiefs already lost to them. Yeah. So, again, okay, all these scenarios you can weigh out. Who's going to lose? Who do we not want to win their division for the Chiefs to get in? But really, most importantly, the Chiefs have to win out. Because being 6-7 right now, they have to. If they could improve to 10-7, then that could maybe change things. They could be back in the running, but again, there's so many. Well, only if this team loses, if that. But if they could at least get to 10 wins, they'll have a better chance. But it's not looking easy to get to 10 wins. Look at what I talked about the Chargers going against the Eagles, and they forced Jalen Hurts to 4 interceptions, and he looks completely out of character. And Patrick Mahomes has looked out of character on his own. So now you put him against the Chargers defense, and I'm very, very concerned to see what kind of game this is going to produce. But I don't know. It's gonna be very interesting to see if the Chiefs are able to pull one off because I'm sure winning 2 straight in this critical time of the season is not what they expected. They go into it like, well, this is gonna be the week we turn it around, but then it's like, dang, are we ever gonna turn it around? Really? Yeah, and I don't think they're feeling that at all. And you look at the records right now: LA 9-4, Buffalo 9-4, Houston 8-5, Indianapolis 8-5. And you've got 6-7, 6-7, 6-7. And you know who that 7th team is on that list? Who? Miami. Oh, wow. Not something I ever thought I would say. Miami. The Chiefs in Miami deadlocked at, and to their credit, I mean, they did. Miami was a throwaway team at the beginning of the year. They didn't look like they had anything together, and they've strung together a couple of wins.
going back to about 3-4 weeks ago. So credit to them. They're in the race as well. Cincinnati's really where your cutoff is, and then you kind of get to 3-10 with the New York Jets. So really, you have to look at the 1-3 Chargers through Houston, and then you get into Indianapolis, Baltimore, KC, and Miami, and that's who's really in that running for that third spot in the wild card and that 7 seed overall. And you've got Kansas City right now, who's hoping to vie for a playoff spot where they do not have a single home game.
Oh gosh,
like a couple years ago, against Buffalo, where they did get the job done. But again, even then, they were 11-6, and they had some control of their destiny with regards to that. So that's the part of it, and they won the division too.
And so it's just uncharted territory.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
weird for the Chiefs.
Or rather, I should say they had a home playoff game that year. They didn't play the AFC Championship game at home, so they had a road playoff game. That was Mahomes', I believe, first ever road playoff game. So. That's, you say, oh, you get a little bit spoiled if you're a Chiefs fan because you have had that much success, and it is true. But this year, that success is not adding up, and just hoping to get in is not something I think we ever thought would come out of our mouths beginning this year. So, wild.
We'll see.
Got to win a lot of games. And you know who else has to win a lot of games is the Wichita State Shockers, who have a huge game this Saturday at 11 a.m. Asia. You're going to be up early.
Oh, yeah. Early.
Yes,
bright and early.
early.
Crack of dawn, basically.
Crack of dawn, yes. Taking on DePaul out of Chicago. Last year, they fell by 19 points. This year, Asia could be a much different story as a part of that.
I think it will be, because the Shockers have done really well so far this season. We saw they just got their first road win of the year, so that was nice to see against Northern Iowa. But we just talked to Coach Mills on Thursday, and he said Northern Iowa is an easier opponent than DePaul is going to be, so we can't use that to measure how the performance in this game is going to be. I do think one thing the Shockers are riding on is that momentum, though, from that win. We saw TJ Williams really step up, earn a career high 18 points. Michael Gray made a lot of progress, and I want to note that, we've already seen the Shockers be incredible at rebounding, and Coach Mills always talks about the importance of free throws and how free throws really could win you the game. And that's what we saw in their overtime win against Northern Iowa. It came down to the free throws. TJ was making his free throws. It was actually Michael Gray's free throws that tied things after regulation. So, Coach Mills did a great job leading Oral Roberts to one of the highest free throw percentages in the nation back when he was their coach there. And we're seeing this Shocker team really make those same strides of progress. And those are the critical moments you have to win. You have to make your free throws. You have to make them when you step up to the line. And that's what they did. And I think that proof is really going to be important as they look ahead to the rest of the season. Yeah,
I'm a big fan, especially of, Karan Void, Valencia getting some playing time as well. So you're kind of seeing the lineup starting to formulate. You're starting to see more of a concrete lineup for Mills. And that's what I like. And I do love seeing TJ Williams coming back this year and really putting the hammer down. And after all that frustration with the injury last season, becoming a star with this group. It's great to see a local product from Heights kind of come out there and do that. Yeah,
he's really starting to find his footing. I think those first few games, he was still trying to figure it out, but he's really falling into his place and playing a really big role on this team. So early, he's young, but he's one of the only players who was here in the past who kind of understands the program and understands Mills. So I think that is beneficial as well, because a lot of this team, of course, is transfers. But he's doing a great job. And also Will Berg, he's been right there at the glass when they need those second chance points. He had a big, important second chance basket, again, going back to Northern Iowa. And so having a big man like him out there is also very beneficial. Also blocking. He's doing really well defensively. So they have the pieces. It's just they're sorting things out. And I think finally their first road win. Now we know they're 5-0 at home. That's their first road win this season. And I remember before the season when we sat down, you talked to Nooner, I talked to Mills about the rest of the year. And Mills mentioned, when I look ahead to the season, the first game that I notice is that first conference game that they have coming up against UAB. And he was like, we need to make sure that we're ready when conference play comes. So I think being able to get that road win is going to help prepare them. And they have about, 3 games remaining before they hit conference at the end of the month. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how these pieces continue to fall together and what lineups he uses.
That one game on New Year's Eve, which even more special when you look at it that way. But Paul Mills has really done an impressive job so far with this year. And really, I'm impressed with how, not setting things in stone at the beginning of the year, he was still able to make it work. The amount of success he's had at home, the amount of success that he was able to, produce on the road this past week. And it was just such a gritty, gutty win at Northern Iowa. It takes them into overtime. They win by, a single-point margin, and it was really anybody's game towards the end of that second half. So he's done a great job with this group. I'm excited to see where it takes him. 15-19 again his first year, 19-15 last year. I want to say this year is where they really do level up, and it's starting to look like everything's coming together.
Absolutely. I think this is the year. I think third time's a charm, third year is a charm. Coach Mills also mentioned how much he loves being able to change a program and put the pieces together to see sustained success in years to come. So he's in really his element right now, being able to have recruited all of these players because everyone graduated last year. These are all guys he chose for this team. Now, granted, he had talent, not to undermine anyone from years past, but this is his rebuild. This is really the time where we get to see what he can do when he's in the driver's seat from the start, when he fills the gas tank and figures out what type of car he wants. And that's what he's kind of doing right now. I thought I'm going to get into metaphors today, I guess. But it's interesting to see how these pieces are falling together. And there's one other point I was going to make, but I forgot. But I am excited to see how Mills does something about being at home. I don't know, but hopefully we do see a lot of people at home. On Saturday morning, we saw our buddy Marcus McDuffie was over here tweeting, telling people you got to show up to that game because the Shockers need that energy and excitement. Oh, it's at the tip of my tongue, and I need a second to think, so I can't figure out what I'm trying to say. It's something about the overtime, though. Yeah.
Marcus McDuffie.
That's all we wanted to say, Marcus.
He went on Twitter and he basically, called all the fans in to say, hey, let's go, let's do this. And I think that's going to have a crazy effect on Saturday morning. I think you're going to see a whole lot of people show up. Women also play at 2:30 as well, so that's something to keep an eye on there. But doubleheader begins at 11 a.m., pregame festivities, everything going on at Koch Arena. Should be a lot of excitement. Yep,
and now that you said it, I remembered my point I was going to make is that the 4 losses the Shockers had were all by just 2 scores. And so for them to have been able to send things to overtime and not lose by 2 scores, send it to overtime, and then come out on top, I think that really was a pivotal moment for how they can figure things out in the final minutes so that when they have these close games, they can win it. It's not going to be, they're going to feel less discouraged now going into those final minutes, even if they're trailing. Like, hey, we've done this before. We've won in overtime. So we don't have to be worried if we're 2 scores behind. We could find those baskets, those important points, get those stops at the other end of the court, and come out with a win.
Oh, yeah. Coverage coming your way this weekend. We're excited to bring it to you. Shockers, Chiefs, and plenty more from K-State and obviously KU basketball as well. Right on the line. But for now, thanks so much for joining us, Michael Emami.
And Asia Cymone Smith.
We will see you soon.